YouTube. You guys usually don't see a guide video like this, but welcome. We're gonna be doing Bald's or Blade's guide on stream. It's usually what I don't do. The reason why is because I was very sick prior to Blade's release. Wasn't able to do much on the content creator server to produce his guide early. So we're gonna do it on stream. You guys will be able to see the YouTube files on the bottom left as we usually do. But we're gonna jump straight into it. Expect everything similar to what you would usually expect in a guide here. Going over his general kit stuff pretty briefly, pretty quick. Going over his best light cones, all the best relics and stuff that you should be using on him. Team building synergies, and then possible Eidolons that you may want or don't want. I've been getting a lot of questions about E1 worth it or not, and we'll cover that, okay? Let us go. This is important for new character showcases. Let's do his trial. So, you guys don't know, Blade is a very unique destruction character. He's almost purely HP scaling. Every single part of his kit has a little bit of attack scaling, but it's very low compared to his max HP scaling. So we do consider him as a HP scaler for all intents and purposes, okay? Which means for all builds and stuff. He likes to consume his own HP. You can think of him like Hu Tao, except don't feel offended by this, but I do think his design is very similar to Hu Tao's, but better. Not as powerful, but it's different because Hu Tao is a ICD ignoring charge attack reverse vaporizer, which is very different. That's mechanically different in Genshin, right? But mechanically very similar because consumes HP to deal enhanced damage, and then you use his ultimate to kind of restore HP, but mostly his talent. They both kind of restore HP. I say kind of because it's not really. It sets his HP at a certain level regardless of where he's at. Anyways, so that's basically him. But yeah, so we can go into this, okay? Go into his base traces on this tree here. Blade's technique, I would say, is probably not inherently that useful. It's AoE wind damage. That's basically all it does. I will say that it does consume his HP after entering combat, which is nice because it does give him 1 out of his 5 charges at the start. I do think that overall, not too big of a difference, but if he is your DPS, then it is nice if they all have wind weakness. If you use this technique, it's an actual attacking ability, so you need to be in front of enemies while you do it. Our trial characters are Pella and Natasha, which we'll get into. How his synergies work with team building. As we get into this, let's use this technique to just start the battle off, okay? All right, so we got his E to proc. You'll notice the first thing that happens, this is different. In trial, it tells you all this stuff, okay? So we'll get into this. Basic attack for every single character is the same shit. They deal single target attack scaling damage to the enemy. Same for him, useless. Ignore this, okay? Hellscape. That's his E. So his E, it consumes his HP. It changes the way his attack works. It consumes 30% of his current HP. And after you use his skill, which does consume a skill point, he immediately can attack again. So you can use his basic attack right after you use his skill, which is pretty nice because it basically allows you to get a free hit off of his enhanced. That's the core of his kit. Consume HP. You have an enhanced basic attack. You also deal a little bit more damage. In his ultimate, his current HP is set to 50% of his HP. So regardless if you're full HP or near dying, he's going to be set to half. And then he deals pseudo AoE wind damage. Pseudo because he hits 1 target and then 1 enemy to the left and right, if applicable. Okay. Talent, probably his strongest ability. As you guys may all know, his talent is pretty strong, but it only happens when he hits 5 stacks. 5 stacks, which we'll see in the actual battle, takes a bit of time to reach depending on enemy RNG and how they hit you and stuff. But when all 5 stacks are consumed, he'll do true AoE damage. So he attacks all enemies, regardless of how many there are, and he deals full damage to every single one. And the technique we just showed. Anyway, that's it. Okay, so couple important things. As you guys saw, when we entered battle, he consumed his HP to deal damage to the enemies. As a result, Blade currently has 1 charge. You guys can see his chart on his tooltip. On his tooltip also, it shows you how much his HP is lost. This is important for his ultimate because his ultimate will tally up how much lost HP he has, and has a cap of 90% of his max HP and deal additional damage off of that, okay? So I'm gonna use Pella. We're just gonna get to all the characters. I'll do this just to get Pella's ultimate off to get defense, right? All right, Natasha. You can go ahead and auto attack and take damage. I don't care. Okay, so very important. Let's demonstrate how Blade works so that all of you guys know. His E. He will be casting it on himself. You'll see him lose 30% of his HP. This consumes 1 skill point. You see 4 here, right? So boom. He does that. He gained an extra charge. He has 2 charges now. He does not gain energy from activating his E. No energy gain. You see his trial amount here is the same amount, but he gets to move again. So using his E does not qualify like a turn. So during his enhanced basic attack, which is this extra garbage, okay? In his basic attack form, every single time he enhanced basic attacks, he will also consume his HP. So more stacks for himself. He deals pseudo AoE damage similar to his ultimate. He'll deal a portion of damage to one enemy, and then the left and right adjacent will take 40%, right? So this multiplier is 40% of the damage he deals to the main character. And you can't die when using it, okay? During this enhanced ability, you'll notice that I have 3 skill points right here. You do not gain any. This is important because a lot of people think that Blade is skill point positive. He's still skill point negative. He does not gain any skill points, but he's much less negative than other characters. So if I press Q here, we still have 3 skill points. Cage? We'll cage. All right, Blade, are you gonna get hit or not? He's not gonna get hit. He still did not get hit. Okay, now Blade is currently, he lost 4,760 HP. It's not the cap, but we're still gonna use his ultimate just to demonstrate, okay? So, death sentence. Very simply, you will see his HP. He will go up to about half his HP. And he dealt 45,000 damage. He got countered. He got 5 stacks, and then he did his AoE. Cool? Thumbs up. Overall, his energy gain is pretty solid, I would say. On average, depending on how often he gets hit, every single enhanced basic attack that he does, by the way, gives him 30 instead of 20 energy, which means that he is actually a higher energy generator for himself than most other characters, especially because he doesn't consume as many skill points. So this means that on average, you should be able to ultimate every 3 to 4 hits, depending on how often you get hit. And yeah, basically. Okay, okay. Anyways, we're gonna continue this. That's basic premise. As you guys can see from the damage that Blade deals, he's pretty strong, right? He's a max HP scaler. His crit is just your average 7140 here in the trial. He is using his own light cone, which is significantly more powerful than most other light cones. But overall, I think his damage is pretty good for a max HP scaler. And as we're talking about this, because this is about his kit and stuff, the important thing to note about Blade is that most of Blade's damage is coming from his basic attack, which is an enhanced thing. Most of his damage comes from his basic attack and his talent follow-up damage in an AoE setting. So if you want to prioritize that in terms of traces, then go for it. Okay, so that's a demonstration of Bald. We love Bald. Let's go over the remainder of his traces. In terms of trace priority, I would say that you really should level all of them, even his skill, because his skill gives him an increased damage dealt, and it scales by 3% per level, which is quite nice. The multiplier for his basic attack also changes, right? So everything is technically important because he has 3 sources of damage. You have basic attack, you have talent, and then you have ultimate, and then his skill. You could argue skill is like the least important, but I would say that 3% is like, you know, it adds up over time, right? 5 levels is another 15% damage increase, which is quite significant. But in general, if you really want to hyper tune your build, basic attack will be used the most. Talent will be used almost equally, more in an AoE setting, less in a single target setting than his basic attack. Ultimate, I would say, is used the least. Ultimate is basically an enhanced basic attack, right? It's not true AoE. It's kind of just to reset his HP level, if that makes sense. And then for his additional trace nodes, this one's nice. Just makes him heal from his own abilities as well, right? From his talent. And also his A4 trace is affected by his A2 trace. Ultimate is not a heal. His ultimate is not a heal. It's a set HP. So just like take that into account. And then talent's follow-up damage increased by 20%. You're going to be accessing all of these. Why? because crit rate node on every single one. We want all the crit rate nodes. We want all the HP nodes. This one is optional. You should get it, but it is optional. Effect resistance, optional. You should have this one. That's basically his trace nodes. Just make sure that you guys know that you guys get 12% crit rate from here. Okay, 12% crit rate is very nice. So here's the thing about all of Blade. And I think this is a misconception that people think that they understand about Blade. Blade does not need to stay low HP. So people who say that he sucks with Luocha because Luocha always heals him, they're just wrong. His basic attack is purely based off of your max HP, not how much HP you've lost. His talent is also based off of max HP, not how much HP you've lost. His ultimate is how much total HP he has lost over the whole battle, has nothing to do with how much he's healed. Okay? So you want healers with him, and he is perfectly fine to be full HP whenever he deals his abilities. It is okay. You do not need to be life support and then activate ultimate to do damage. The lower the HP does not make him any stronger. He needs to lose a lot of HP over the course of the battle, but that's easy because all of his kit consumes his HP. So that means that like synergies with Luocha are actually great because Luocha like auto heals him and keeps him top off, which is one of his best supports, which we'll get to. Anyways, let's do Eidolons really quick, okay? So E1. E1 is probably his strongest early one, but at the end of the day, so here's the problem that I have with E1. As we just discussed, his ultimate is his least important ability in terms of damage. And so I don't really place high value on his E1 because it only affects his ultimate. That makes sense? Like his basic attack and his talent are doing a lot more over time in a general battle than his ultimate is. But this does make his ultimate much stronger. If you do have E1, then basically all three forms of his DPS have like equal distribution of damage dealt. So there's that. E2 is 15% increased crit rate during his E state. Always nice. If you do have E2, his innate crit rate is 15% plus 12% trace nodes plus 16% relics, and then potentially 18% from his weapon. So you're above 65% crit with nothing if you have E2. Just consider that for your build. E3, E5 are pretty standard stuff. E4 is nice. Max HP, it increases all of his forms of damage. Can't argue with that. E6, this is strong. E6 means 20% faster talent uptime, and also his follow-up attack gets even more damage from 50% of his max HP. And that's AoE, by the way. So with E6, you kind of get some nasty stuff, especially if you're running Elation on Simulated Universe. So yeah, if you're E6, his damage in an AoE setting jumps up by a solid 25% if you can pull this off quite effectively. So yeah, that's Eidolons. Let's talk about Lycone for Bald, okay? So Bald is very unique. What do we know about the Lycones for destruction? Most of them are unfortunately attack scaling. If you look at a lot of them, they are, your attack is increased. Your attack is increased. Clara's is, your attack is increased. The moles welcome you, your attack is increased by 12 to 36%. Secret Vow, one of the best ones, 4-star. Under the Blue Sky, what do you know? Attack is increased. Wolf Walk Time, what do you know? Attack is increased. So most of the Lycones, I would say half of the Lycones are actually not that great on him. On the Fall of Eon, don't use it. Nowhere to Run, which is the battle pass, don't use it. Something irreplaceable, Clara's is okay, all right? And the reason is because you still get a 24% damage boost if you are hit or you defeat an enemy. However, it's still not super synergistic, and I would say that this 5-star Lycone is still worse than Arlen's. Arlen's is the second best, and it's very obvious why. You get a universal damage dealt increase, right? And if your current HP is lower than the enemies, then you deal extra damage. Why not use the BP? The only thing you get from this Lycone is an HP restoration. If you consider using the battle pass, you might as well just use your 3-star, because at least you get basic attack or skill damage increase. You get 20% more damage dealt, or you know. So like, yeah. So overall, Lycone wise, he really just has two options. His signature Lycone, best in slot, provides him 18% crit at S1, 30% at S5, max HP increase, and a damage dealt increase. Okay. Signatures in Stain. If you don't have signature, run Secret Vow. Okay. If you don't have Secret Vow or it's being used on someone else, use a 3-star. This 3-star, 12% crit rate if you're below HP. At S5 is 24% crit rate. Blade's HP is almost always going to be lower than 80% HP, unless you're using Luocha. If you're using Luocha, you could probably use Collapsing Sky because of basic attack 40% increase. But yeah, any of the 3-stars I would say are actually really good on him. Better than most of the 4-star options. So it's 3-star, Unreachable Side, and Secret Vow, okay? These 5 light cones are what you should use. That's light cones. Let's go to Relics. You guys should totally know by now. The new 4-piece Longevous Disciple is too broken. Why? Because it basically gives him an infinite 16% crit rate with 12% max HP, which is way better than any other relic set that you can use on him. So don't even consider anything else. Even use 4-star pieces like you currently see mine is on. Longevous Disciple, no question about it. Planner ornaments though. Here's the thing about planner ornaments, okay? I would say that he has 2 equally super strong choices yet to unlock this relic set. Oh. Let me open up this instead because this actually shows them even if I haven't. What the that's actually kind of cringe. But anyways, so there's basically 2 that you only care about. Rutilant Arena, which we'll call the Arena set. 8% crit rate like Salsodo. Has a higher requirement, 70% crit rate, but basic attack damage by 20%. Very nice. Personally, I still like using Inert Salsodo. The reason is because the crit rate requirement is lower, and it also gives him both ultimate and follow-up attack damage. And also, you probably farmed for this in the past. But for the purposes of the guide, both of these are within 2% DPS of each other. This one is going to be stronger if you're using basic attack spam more. Salsodo is going to be stronger if there's more AoE enemies and they're attacking you more often for more of your follow-up. But overall, the damage difference between these 2 is almost unnoticeable. So choose Arena or Salsodo depending on what you have, okay? If you don't have any of those 2, you can be an ageless gamer for max HP plus 12%. But if you do this, you're coping pretty hard. And I generally wouldn't recommend it because you already have so much HP percent from, you know, what we'll get into. If you want to see my build currently, I'm using Inert Salsodo. The only reason is because I happen to roll this piece, which is honestly pretty shit, all things considered, but it does have every single stat that's relevant for him. So we take it, okay? Thumbs up. Main stats. Pretty easy to build main stat-wise. I think he only has one specific build. Speed boots, I think, is a must. And the reason is because Baldi's base speed is a fucking turtle. 97 speed will basically never move, okay? 100% run speed boots on him, okay? He's even slower than Jing Yuan, and if you've used Jing Yuan at 99 speed, he feels awful to use. Blade at 97 speed basically never goes, okay? So just run speed boots on him. Even run 4-star speed boots like I am. It doesn't matter. Just make him so he's not a snail. While he does want people to hit him, it's kind of hard because he doesn't have an innate taunt, which would make him broken if he had an innate taunt. Just like make sure that you guys understand that is why. Body piece. Almost all of you guys are going to be running crit damage. His built-in crit rate is pretty damn high. Just with 4-piece Longevous and his trace nodes, he has a base of 28% crit rate plus 5% base. He's already 33% crit, so you almost always should run crit damage. If you have to run crit rate, sure, go for it, but like you basically have a 1-to-1 crit ratio. And if you guys really want to hit 70% crit rate, honestly, roll for his signature light cone. If you are trying to force 70% crit rate, just get his light cone. You should really run Salsodo if you don't have his light cone, because there's no way you're going to force 70 crit rate. Orb, always wind. If you don't have wind, go HP. Obvious. No question about it. He's full DPS. Sphere. I mean, the rope. So most DPS characters could consider an ERR rope. Why does Blade not need an ERR rope? Can someone in chat explain why? He gets hit. Okay, no, you're wrong. He doesn't get hit more often. The reason why you run HP percent is because his enhanced basic attack is always 30 energy gain instead of 20. That is why, okay? It's because he's always able to basic attack without much skill point usage, and every basic attack is enhanced and gains 30 energy instead of 20. So his effective ultimate cost is actually much less than what you think, okay? If you play Blade, you will realize that 1, his ultimate is not a big part of his damage, and 2, he actually gets his ultimate fairly frequently. Like, he doesn't actually need help on his ultimate, okay? That is why we go pure HP, because we want to enhance his basic attack and talent damage. His ultimate is the 3rd most important damage until you get E1, at which it becomes equally valuable between his basic attack and his talent. But HP percent is just too valuable. It scales incredibly well with everything else, and he doesn't have energy problems. So you can basically count on him getting hit at least once or twice. If you don't get hit once or twice, don't feel bad about it. His ultimate is not like amazing, okay? So yeah. Also things to note that a lot of people forget. You actually don't really want him to ultimate as fast as possible because you need to accumulate lost HP, which I think people forget about. Just based off normal basic attacks, you won't actually get to 90% of his max HP as this value resets every single time he ultimates. So if he ultimates faster, it's actually shitty because his ultimate's weak. All of these factors carry into his ultimate not needing 100% uptime because it's going to be weak anyway if you loop it really fast. What about HP boots plus Bronya? That is a great question. If you decide to run with Bronya, which is a great support for him, you can run HP percent boots here. It is totally possible. However, do note this, okay? If you do decide to run HP boots, it's very hard to tune the speed. Basically, your blade runs as fast as your Bronya goes, which is totally fine. Personally, I still like running speed boots. It also allows him to weave in more attacks and potentially get, a second or third hit in. But that's okay. You can totally run HP boots here with Bronya. That is an important thing to mention because I think a lot of people will consider that, especially whales. So recommended stats. So most of your baldies have at least 5k HP. It's pretty easy to get 5k HP. Reaching 6k or higher, you'll need a lot more HP substats. Also refinement of light cone, as well as level 80 complete and level 80 light cone. They all affect, okay? But mostly 5k HP is the minimum. Attack, you can completely ignore. Speed, 5-star speed boots will give you plus 25 for 122, which is a perfect amount. Mine is currently a little slow, that's fine. Crit rate, try to aim for anywhere between 50 to 70. But if you're running the arena build, get 70. Crit damage, 140 or higher. Most of you guys will be probably getting about 150, depends on your build. Energy regen 100%. Effect resistance is probably the 5th most important stat after crit rate, crit damage, speed, and HP. Effect resistance still nice, and then obviously win damage boost, okay? So yeah, that's basically it. 7140. 122 speed, etc. Let's quickly talk about team comps for Bald, okay? Support characters for Bald. What does he absolutely not want on his team? That's right. Get every single preservation character off your team. No preservation, okay? I don't want to see a Fire MC. I don't want to see a Yepard. I don't want to see a March 7th, okay? If he's shielded, he's not losing HP. So he is one of those few characters who you literally he's anti-preservation, which is kind of unique to hear, but that's fine, okay? Great synergies. Healing. He loves healing. Luocha is probably one of his strongest butt buddies because he has an auto heal and basically guarantees that Blade never dies. So Luocha is great. Natasha is obviously the choice if you don't have Luocha, and you can totally run Bailu if you want. In the rare case that Bald just randomly dies, even though he shouldn't be, at least Bailu will give him a +1 life. So consider that if you want to Bailu it, okay? So most people will have access to either Luocha or Natasha. So those are the most common, right, with him. The second, Harmony characters in general are pretty solid. However, we have too many Harmony characters that are attack boosting. Common supports like Ting Yun and Asta don't have the greatest synergy, right? Ting Yun is almost purely attack boosting. While she does improve energy regeneration, for Baldy, his ultimate's kind of shit if he spams it. So Ting Yun is actually one of the worst Harmony characters for Bald. Complete anti-synergy, attack boosting does nothing, and faster ults doesn't mean anything for him, okay? Asta's still fine because you move fast, but her charging for attack boost, whatever. It's mediocre. So who do we have left then? Well, of course, you have your crit rate and crit damage boosters, all right? We have both Bronya and Yukong in this situation, which are both excellent. Bronya does not have skill point issues with Bald. Bronya is actually quite excellent because Bald usually doesn't need many skill points. So Bronya is the skill point user in this particular composition. I highly recommend, by the way, that you buy Bronya's Lycone if you don't already have it with the 600 star, because the 10% energy regeneration and also skill point refund on ultimate every other time is very valuable. So Bronya, very excellent. Yukong is a little bit less tunable, but still definitely works. Combining with Luocha, Yukong does enable a kind of imaginary wind kind of comp if you want. So yeah, consider that. Yukong's tuning is not as finesse. If you have E6 Yukong, you have a much better time because you can control the buffs that you give to Blade. If you see that Baldy is about to unlock his talent, which is a huge AoE, then you just pop Yukong's ult right before it. and then you have an extra buff stack for Bald. Okay. After that, so those are the Harmony characters. The next most important characters are your Nihility characters, which they are, I would say, situational. Okay. So situational are the Nihility characters. And the reason why I say they're situational is because most of the time they can be skill point hungry. But thankfully, one character is not that skill point hungry. Pela. Why? Because Pela's most important utility comes from her ultimate. And guess what we have recently with Pela? That's right. If you guys did the event, you should have S5 of the tutorial mission because she basically can loop her ultimate every 2 to 3 turns, which means that you have def uptime, almost up always, and you never even need to use your E because the only reason why you would use Pela's E is if you wanted to remove a buff, which if you have Luocha on your team, Lamau XD, Luocha literally has a effect hit rate ignoring buff removal, which you literally should, yeah. Anyways, so Pela's great, mostly just basic attacking and then ulting. Def reduction is excellent for Bald because Bald usually doesn't have many ways to buff him, right? We already mentioned the 2 ways to buff him. But def reduction massively increases the damage dealt. Pela's also AoE, really nice. So Silver Wolf, also possible if you want to run Silver Wolf. But unfortunately, Silver Wolf is more skill point hungry. So on auto, this is awful. Keep that in mind. But Silver Wolf is always a de facto standalone Nihility character that you can always add into any team. So yeah, that's basically it. Any other characters don't have any specific synergy, right? Any hunt erudition character you don't really need on the same team, and usually they would have their own required team that would go with them. You also don't want any draw fire, right? You don't want to include Clara in the team with Blade because then he'll never get hit because Clara's always getting hit. Welt. I think Welt combined with Luocha is great control. Absolutely insane. However, Welt, you guys know, has anti-synergy with characters that like to be attacked. Because Welt is so f***ing Giga Chad that he ties everyone up and they can never move. So if enemies can't move, they can't attack. If enemies can't attack, that means Blade is not losing HP off enemies. So consider that as an anti-synergy, but you totally can run. I think a lot of people who want to just have fun, you can run this, right? You can run a variation of Mono Imaginary where you have Yukong buffing, you know, everyone on the team every so often. So that's basically it. I think that for the most part, because destruction characters have slightly more taunt than your abundance, nihility, hunt, and erudition characters, you usually should not have a problem with pairing him up because he has anti-preservation. You'll never want to add a shield to his team anyway. So yeah, that's basically it. So that covers an on-stream, basically complete guide to Bald. I think I covered basically all the necessary information. If there's anything that I missed, feel free to ask in the comments or whatever. Don't forget to like and sub. Enjoy your Baldy. He's a very easy character to build. He doesn't need much. HP characters are always really nice because you just make him really tanky and he just doesn't die and whatever. His damage is pretty fucking decent, by the way. His HP scalings are actually really strong. Even with my blade with just like random shit, he's still able to crank out solid like 40 to 50,000 AoE crits, not in the simulated universe. So that is like my ceiling level damage. So it's totally like very nice. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something about it. I am still recovering from my voice, if you guys can hear it. And I wasn't able to produce a video off stream, but you know, I think this is a little bit of a breath of fresh air. You guys usually don't see me do guides live on stream. So yeah. Oh wait, I can put my VTuber back on. Anyways, thanks for watching, YouTube Frost. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Don't forget to Bald. And yeah, balls.